George Bernard Shaw said, "Do not wrestle with a pig. You get dirty, and the pig enjoys it."
You are listening to TMI for the week of September 25th, 2017. It's the hottest weekend since 1895. This is for the Ottawa region. I don't know for Toronto. You'd have to check that for Toronto. They said it was going up to 40 with the humidex, 31, 32 just regular, 40 with the humidex today.
Last night it was supposed to be 31 today, 33 tomorrow, 30 on Monday, 27 on Tuesday.
Yeah. And then with the humidex it would be like 40.
Yeah.
The 3.0 magnitude earthquake from North Korea near their underground testing facility. So they're not too sure if it was an actual detonation or it was an actual earthquake. They don't know, so they say.
It just could be a different kind of bomb in different location. Could have been an accident. Who knows?
Can an underground nuclear test trigger 2 weeks or 3 weeks later a little baby earthquake like that? And number two, how do they test an underground nuclear device without it causing a thump of the soil above the surface? Like, how are they doing this? Like, I've never really been able to figure that out, and I've never looked up on Lugal before.
They do it at a distance underground.
Okay, is it in a cavern? Is it in a crawl space? Is it in is it in a container that they blow, a heavy-duty container, and they simulate a nuclear explosion? Like, how is this done?
I don't know. That's a good question. This sounds like some Googling. But it's in a cavern underground, dug like a mine.
Okay.
And who knows how they seal or plug it before the detonation.
Okay.
And it's underground a certain distance so that it disrupts the surface less. One of the reasons why we can get live earthquake data right now has to do with the test ban treaties. It was part of mutual verification. I think there's a rule that Russia has to put its seismic stuff on a web page live, and America has to put its earthquake stuff on a live web page, so that both sides know whether they're adhering to the test ban treaties.
Gotcha.
Everybody knew about the previous tests.
6.1 or whatever it was?
Yeah, well, there's such a sophisticated network of seismographs being created, and you can compare, if they're all synced to the same clock, the time it takes for a shockwave to hit a particular station can be used to triangulate locations,
depth, and all that. Well, like the Mexico earthquake this week. So
I don't know, sorry to interrupt, but like if you ever go on an actual earthquake website, it's XYZ. There's movement in the 3 component axes. Parallel with the trajectory to the source. Okay. Perpendicular to the trajectory to the source, and up and down relative to the source. Okay. So X, Y, and Z. And Makes sense. Can actually, some of these sites, like I think even the Buffalo seismogram, you can switch it from X, Y, and Z and measure the wave going up and down, left and right, or front and back.
So were you aware that Puerto Rico has 23 Superfund sites on the island?
No.
Yeah. 23 Superfund sites. And Puerto Rico has now been without power. Its 3.5 million residents have now been without power for approximately 48, 72 hours, and they expect the power to be pretty much out for the next 6 to 12 months.
Do the Superfund sites rely on power for cooling or anything?
Yeah, a lot of them do. And, as of this morning, a couple of million people are, well, not a couple of million, but a couple of 100,000 people, pardon me, I think, if I recall hearing correctly, are being evacuated because a dam is about to break. Because there's a series of dams. If you take a look at a map of Puerto Rico, I think there's about 5 or 6 dams around the island, up in the hills. in the mountains, and there's one that's particularly because Puerto Rico is going bankrupt. They haven't been able to keep up their infrastructure, like the dams, the electrical system, and everything. And so their critical infrastructure is failing, or has failed. So a lot of these, one Superfund site has, from their power station there, has spent coal ash, which is highly toxic in lead and arsenic, and is 5 stories high, and is collapsing, and all the toxic runoff is going into this slum right next door, which has about 45,000 low-income people, and this is where this one particularly bad Superfund site is. And this 5-story toxic pile of coal ash from the power plant is leaking or flooding into this neighborhood, and there's no way to stop it, and it has all this lead and arsenic and everything else like that. And apparently this problem has been ongoing for years, but because the people of Puerto Rico, although they are part of the United States, they are not allowed to vote.
Same as the Virgin Islands, right?
No, the Virgin Islands are too small, and again, they're a territory, so they're a different territory as Puerto Rico, I think. Again, I could be wrong, because Puerto Rico was taken over after the Spanish-American War in 1898, and they were established as a commonwealth and a voluntary association with the U.S. So they have full powers of the U.S. government as of 52, but they don't have the right to vote for their congressmen or their senators or anything like that.
Coal ash is pretty serious stuff.
Oh yeah, it is. Well, I mean, they were saying, I mean, this is something I heard on the news and then I read, that when they're transporting it around the islands, they don't have any covers on them or anything else like that. It's like totally just flying off the truck, on the side of the road, in the trees, on the produce, for the stores and stuff like that, all the fruits and vegetables, and so people are ingesting it and everything. So it basically sounds like, colonialism at its worst. And like they're saying here, like this is from the Washington Post, Hurricane Maria by Steve Muffson. And this is from Friday, September 22nd, 2017, Toronto Star, page A5. Puerto Rico's electric company was already billions in debt before the storm struck. And then Steve Muffson from the Washington Post says, Hurricane Maria has dealt a new blow to Puerto Rico's bankrupt electric company, causing widespread power outages and imposing costly repairs on a utility that was already struggling with more than $9 billion in debt, poor service, and sky-high rates. So it's called PREPA, Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, said it needed more than $4 billion to overhaul its outdated power plants and reduce its heavy reliance on imported oil. The company filed for bankruptcy on July 2nd. 3.4 million residents are now out of power because all the power lines have been knocked down and everything. The Commonwealth, Puerto Rico, that is trying to restructure $74 billion in debts. $74 billion. And
they were repairing after the first hurricane that went through, and then this one, checkmate.
Yeah. So it said, he goes on to say it's too soon to know whether Maria inflicted damage on the power plants, the biggest being a pair that burn heavy fuel oil to generate 900 megawatts each, together enough to power 1.3 million homes. The median age of PREPA's power plants is 44 years old. It says here that PREPA has lost 30% of its employees since 2012 due to the steady migration out of the Commonwealth and due to retirement.
Just from seeing, sort of CNN coverage, it did sort of kind of feel like the pleas for assistance from both Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. It made it sound like they kind of knew that they were not a priority, especially after Houston and damage in Florida. They're kind of second-class citizens, aren't they?
That's definitely, if I was a Puerto Rican citizen or a citizen of the U.S. Virgin Islands, I would certainly say yes to that. And if the mainland America in Washington doesn't want to have a huge separation movement, because if they don't look after the people of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, I could definitely see the American or the Puerto Ricans. I mean, they're already angry at being taken over by the states. I recommend reading the book, The Rum Diaries, Hunter S. Thompson, because it encapsulates what was going on in Puerto Rico, and that was in the late 1950s, early 1960s, right? And Hunter S. Thompson captures it perfectly. There's an island off the coast of Puerto Rico that they used for military testing, and they did military tests there, bombing it, strafing it, and everything for decades. And now it's full of spent munitions that haven't exploded or detonated or whatever.
And lead.
And the lead and the poisons and the arsenic and everything that's in the weapons systems are now, because of this hurricane,
and if they use enriched uranium.
Yeah. And they closed that island down years ago, and people are living on it now.
Nice.
And so apparently now you got this. That's another Superfund site, and apparently it's just leaking all over the place. And again, nothing's being done.
You have a hurricane flow through.
Yeah, exactly. So they're saying that apparently what happened with this hurricane, that the clay that they used to cap off these Superfund sites have totally disintegrated because of the torrents of water that's cascaded down from the mountains.
Great time to cut the EPA, though.
Oh, well, that's it, eh? So... But it's not on mainland USA, so people don't care. It's a colonial thing, and this is what's happened. And you got 3.5 million people now, 3 days without water or electricity. So imagine that in Toronto and the surrounding area not having water for 3 days.
We haven't seen this many people come forward to speak out against a bill since Cosby. Okay.
One of the things Trump does from day to day is have us doubt our own perception of reality. Right? That's why he says he's going to fix healthcare, but he doesn't. That's why he says he's going to build the wall, but he doesn't. That's why he says it's all going to be terrific, but it isn't. That's why the crowd is big, but it isn't. Like, from day one, and somebody was saying that's what a authoritarian does. Is by constantly contradicting yourself. Just like in the book 1984, East Asia has always been at war with Eurasia. Oceania has always been an ally of, and next week we've been fighting Oceania for 40 years. And, But that's having you lose grasp of how you gauge reality is one of the things they do, and this could be why Trump contradicts himself in every possible way.
Yeah. When he said last week that he wanted to destroy North Korea at the United Nations General Assembly, apparently there was an audible gasp in the General Assembly as he spoke those words, and shocked faces. Representative from North Korea was sitting in the front row and had his hands in his face or something like that.
When there's this kind of rhetoric going on, because it's happened a few times, and Gaddafi is a sort of big example of that.
Russia,
where
China.
Countries, or remember... Iran was very vocal in its little propaganda war for a while.
Yeah, Israel.
No,
if you don't agree with us, you're anti-Semite. I mean, that's just like George Bush Sr. and Jr. saying, if you're not with us, you're against us. There's no...
But the rule is that you never step down to the rhetoric level. You always punch up. You never punch down. So this is the first time ever, as far as I know, that an American president has engaged at the same level as the wacko dictator. When have we ever heard the president, because he's basically lobbing back the same kind of threats, like the North Korean is saying, he'll teach Donald a lesson, and then Donald comes back and he's going to teach
them a lesson.
The North Koreans a lesson.
Yeah, well, it's like two kids fighting in the schoolyard.
Dates coming up for me, I'll be at the Split Lip in Cabbagetown, October 21st and 22nd.
And I'll be at Hot Flashes on November 1st and November 2nd, and followed by a couple other shows on the 29th and the 30th.
Stupid.
I know.
Okay. What else we got coming up on the next episode of TMI?
Trump Towers, Moscow Division. Are you tired of the same old drink when you reach for something refreshing and healthy at the store? Well, we got something for you. Guaranteed bubble-free water. At select retailers, we are giving it away by the handful. Caffeine-free diet water.
A message from the Water Marketing Board of Ontario.
This week, Jerry Ritz, an MP from Saskatchewan for the Conservative caucus. He used to be the former agriculture minister under Stephen Harper. He said this week just a sexist insult to the Liberal cabinet minister, Catherine McKenna. She's the Minister of Environment. And he got a lot of whoop-ass after he said this, and even his leader didn't come out at first to apologize, nor did Ritz. And, you'd think that in 2017 that a mature adult male politician would not say something like this, especially with the President of the United States being as just grotesque and vulgar as he is. But these are the Conservatives, and I'm not surprised. And he called Catherine McKenna, the Minister for Environment, a climate Barbie.
Climate Barbie. As soon as you hit record, it's like unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It's like 30 seconds of silence, 4 words, 30 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
And to the point where, and it's so powerful, I was joking, it's like a drug. Like, I'll just go up to it and like, if I'm bored, and just like hit record and just to feel that feeling. Right? So I was over-medicating with it, I just have all these tapes with like start, stop, silence, right? Because I'm medicating with the record button.
Find us on Twitter, The Price Anderson Act, at That Archer. Find our webpage at libsyn.com. Subscribe to us on Stitcher, YouTube, Player FM, Google Play Music, Castbox, Blueberry, Listen Notes, and iTunes. Almost anywhere that you can find podcasts. And we'd love to hear from you and what you have to say. So email us, archer@twxnet.com. San Pellegrino. You served me Perrier, you're fired. It's San Pellegrino. What are you talking about?
Be silly, do their stuff, and then pack up. There's no uploading, there's no RSS feeds, there's no nothing.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, you're living the life, man. I'm Dave Archer in Toronto.
And I'm Ian Stolberg in Ottawa. Thank you for listening to TMI.